cup, king kao ruyang. In Taiwanese, where I'm originally from, we would say "Li he jiapeng abe." We live in a time of plenty, and we're very fortunate. As a previous speaker mentioned, 100 years ago we had food shortage. Now we have abundant calories. Of course, through industrialization, our food processing system and our environment, our health has degraded to a tremendous point. But nevertheless, we're in this room. All of us are very fortunate. You know, we have amazing chefs who are preparing our meals for us. We have a presentation of miang, very interesting sort of snack food. And we don't have to worry about warfare. We're not in danger of getting killed. We're sitting in an environmentally controlled room. So technology had a play in all of these things. And I just want to cite a statistic that is taken from the Industrial Revolution. So in the USA, in the 1930s, so less than 100 years ago, one farmer could support approximately 4 persons, meaning that they can grow enough food in order to feed just 4 persons. So if they have a family, it's already consumed. If it happens that they have a smaller family, then they could potentially feed 1 person additional to that. Through technology, through efficiency and logistics and whatnot, we've created a global trade where by 2010, statistically in America, you're talking about one farmer can support approximately 155 people. So without this transformation that has also unfortunately created problems for us, most of us would still be toiling in the fields today. So I think it's a good point of departure. Now, some of the things that I'm going to talk about are things that I've worked on. Other things that really I've just come in touch with people who are working on very innovative things. And I don't say that there are things that I really advocate. I think it's just presenting in the form that we can understand, we can have dialogue, and take dogma away from it to have understanding about what is coming down the road. There are 3 primary drivers of the presentation that I'm going to go through, and there are only 5 slides, including my self-introduction. So they're illustrative purposes. There are no statistics, no figures, so I'm just going to talk, and we'll just look at these slides together. One of the drivers is, well, there are inequities in food production and food distribution. We're very lucky to live in Thailand, where we have abundant land, we have soil, fertile soil, we have plentiful water resource in order to grow our own foods and vegetables. We can get nutrition from everywhere. So there are other parts of the world where the population is far greater than the land can support. They have very poor logistics where they cannot transport food from where they're growing it to places where people are living. And there are just inefficiencies all around the system. You're talking about India even, you're talking about greater Africa. So, you know, we have to have a solution for these people as well. To talk about organic food production to support a city of, 10, 20 million in Lagos, Nigeria, really is just not feasible. In fact, as one of the many hats that I wear as a rice processor and exporter, we ship abundant rice from Thailand all the way to Africa. When you think about it, does it make any sense that we're growing stuff here, using all the resources, all the land here, including shipping water all the way to Africa? It makes no sense because they have just as fertile land. We're on the same latitude, so it means that they have ample rainfall as well. They have even more fertile soil that is fresh and unused, but it happens that there's a crack in the system. A lot of it has to do with low infrastructure investment. A lot of it has to do with returns that are really hard to get by in insecure countries. Politically, they're a little bit more unstable than Thailand, so they're not able to produce enough food staples for themselves. So we have that category. Second category is that, well, I don't think many of this room can relate to this issue, is that there are simply people who don't care about food, right? They don't want to go to the groceries. They don't want to have their own vegetable gardens. They don't even want to spend more than 5 minutes eating, right? There are people who are just so inundated with their own lives that really just doesn't care about good food. So if it's possible, they would take a bottle or a pill or something and consume it within a minute. It's almost like astronaut food. Now, this is something of a slight controversy, most likely in this room, and if I do a good job describing this at the end of this day, somebody will throw something at me, tomato, handphones, or whatever, because it's really a departure of what we think of as food. Finally, there's another aspect of things where there are a group of people around the world, and this is starting from the Green Revolution period, where they believe that science can take care of all of our ills, right? Whether it's health, whether it's food, or any sort of these things. They believe that technology can really provide us with all the solutions. So this is talking about very developed countries, in particular in Silicon Valley, where there's a lot of creative minds and a lot of money to throw at these type of problems. And a portion of that equation is that they believe in proprietary technology, right? If everybody can grow rice, you can grow your own vegetables. How is a company going to make money? It's not concentrated enough. If they have a proprietary, patentable type of a solution, then they can market it as a singular brand and all of us will consume it. Again, this is something that I don't advocate, but we have to realize that this is happening. And so there are things that are coming along, in which case it's much easier to corner into the market. So with that, I will just start with the introduction of possible future foods, okay? Everybody else in this room has day-to-day experience with cooking. They're growing things, they're harvesting seafood and all these things. Well, you can tell I'm still a human. I didn't beam back from the future. And I also am not a fortune teller. Unfortunately, I can't tell you your future. So what exactly qualifies me to give this talk, right? So I think I was very fortunate that the organizers of the event invited me to speak. And a part of why is that they wanted me to be a little bit controversial, to engage people in dialogue. And another portion of it is that I am very active, both as a industrial food producer as well as an investor in small companies. In addition, I'm a distiller. I make alcohols in Thailand. And I'm also a judge in some of the restaurant and bar awards in Thailand. So actively, myself, as with many of the people in this room, we collectively envision a future. Daily, we dedicate time and effort, and we dedicate money and resources in order to make the future happen. So in a way, if you have a vision of where you want to go, and you dedicate yourself, we're all essentially futurists. So the first project that I will talk about is the first instance. So my full-time job in Thailand is actually working for a very large rice concern. We purchase rice from brokers and farmers, and we process it, and we export it outside of Thailand. And one of our customers from Africa, they're based in South Africa, but they also service West Africa, came to us and said, well, we're currently using fortified rice. And what they were doing was taking our rice, they were powder coating it with various different vitamins and other additives, and they were selling the market, in addition blended within their packaged rice. They came to us and said, well, we would like to have an extruded rice, because some of our customers do rinse off the rice, pre-rinse, right? I mean, you buy a bag of rice, it probably has weevils, it's been touched by machinery, so they said, can you look into this? The chairman of our company sat down with me one morning and said, Alex, go ahead and take this, go wild. It took me a few weeks to talk to vendors, figure out, what were the ways of creating this extruded rice. And what it is we take broken pie products from our rice mills. You have to grind it up first, and then you have to mix in various different vitamins and minerals back into it, and you have to have a machine that is a twin-screwed extruder. So you add steam and water, and through a heated process, you squirt this pasta type of a thing out at the tail end of it. And with the proper cutting device at the proper RPM, you can essentially extrude a plastic pellet-looking thing that is identical to a grain of rice, even with the teardrop shape. It's 7 millimeters Thai rice standard by 2 millimeters wide and about 3 millimeters tall. Incredible piece of technology. By the time you do all of this thing, each single grain is worth a lot more than the original product that is mostly byproduct. And it's really, really meant for people who don't have access to rich foods. Imagine if you're in the small village in Africa where you're dependent on food aid. This is something of a solution that is accessible. It's something that is possible. Again, if it were up to me, I would eat brown rice. I would eat some vegetables. I could even eat some fresh fruits as well. But there are people who don't have it. So it's not to say that, well, I advocate this thing, but there is still a market for it. Now, the next slide I'm going to put up is somewhat of a controversy. How many people have seen this product in the market here or anywhere else? This is a very interesting company and a very interesting product for those people who don't know. The origin of this company started off in the brains of a group of startup guys in Silicon Valley, where I also spent a part of my early life. I was working on startups and venture capital. I had 3 different companies I was working on. I was also starting a nonprofit organization. So we literally, all of us work 90 hours a week, which means you're barely able to go home, you collapse into bed, and then you get up and you repeat yourself 7 days a week and all year round. So this group of guys, they call themselves the Startup Boys. They were programmers, and they said, well, we don't want to waste time to eat. And the poster child, Rob Reinhardt, at that time was 23 years old. This is 2013. He went online, Amazon and other stores, and he bought a bunch of powders that were primarily vegetarian or vegan-based type of things. So you're talking about multidextrose, soy protein extract. You're talking about canola oil, algae oil, sort of a thing. And vitamins and minerals, and somehow you mixed up this concoction that was powder-based initially. And for him, he was able to produce it to the point where he can have 3 or 4 cups of this, blending it with water and whatnot, low enough where he lived off of it successfully for 30 days. Do you want to do that? Do you ever want to do that? I don't really know. Unless you're an astronaut or you're in a disaster situation, you probably want to do it. But he was able to prove online in the public, as well as with journalistic coverage, that he was able to create a product. And this is costing him $2.50 US per serving at this point as a powder mix. $2.50, you think about it. In Bangkok, that's about 80 baht, right? 80 baht, you can get very good foods. You can get a khao pat, you can get a kabao, you can get khao kamu or something. And this thing that he created was about 400 calories. Each drink that he took in, 14 ounces. Anybody who know 14 ounces, Americans? It's about 400 mLs of liquid that you take in. You feel full, you get nutrition. 20% of the daily nutrition you can get from a single cup, and 400 calories. So if you do this 3-4 times a day, you can feel full and you can get nutrition. Sometimes when we go out to the street side stands in Bangkok, it's mostly meat and starch. You get very little vegetables. So unless you augment it, you're still not getting a complete nutritional profile. So in this way, he believed that through science, you can uptake a certain part of that shortfall. He wasn't necessarily advocating complete meal replacement, but as a busy person, it was something that he could do, blend it. And of course, the market took off. He was able to get funding from crowdfunding sources. Eventually, Mark Andreessen, Netscape founder, invested several $1 million into the company. And now they're the single most successful brand on Amazon. Very fast growing. They're shipping tens of thousands of these products every single month. And to make it easier, they even went ahead and put it into a bottle and, with some water in it. So now you're shipping plastic and all these things around. Next category of things, not so far, is insects, right? And this is a whole spectrum of the universe as well, where you have people who are advocating for whole bugs, locality, terroir, all the way to people who are grinding up into powders, right? And we know that protein is one of the most expensive in terms of environmental resources as well as cost to produce. So you have things that are coming along the line, they're commercially available today. Now, I'm going to skip really fast to the final slide. This is something that is really, really interesting. Within this year, there's going to be commercially available laboratory-grown meats. They haven't really decided on the name. Is it lab-grown? Is it cultured meats? But for sure, you're not killing an animal. It takes a lot less energy and water, and it creates very low emissions. If you grow in your home, it's 0 food miles. And you can even engineer it to be low cholesterol. Are we ready to deal with any of these things? Okay, as an industry, people who care about food and the environment, we need to have a voice. We have to have the journalists who talk about these things. So let's dialogue, let's talk about these things, and I hope that we'll have a chance to work together. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Alex.